Hey, what a pleasure. Oh, what a pleasure. What a joy. Fucking hell. All right. Hello, my name is Rohan. I'll tell you a bit about myself. I was born in Leicester, but as you can probably tell, my family originally come from money. But no, I've got my own struggles, I do. It is tough being a Muslim in the UK, I imagine. I'm Hindu, but... You know, I'm very empathetic, that's the thing about me, but I am Indian and I have been all of my life. My family are Hindu, so my dad's a Hindu, and he has been all of his lives. And I say, I feel like I'm quite disconnected from my race. I think that's probably quite obvious. I think like my voice way, you know, like I think people, they sort of see me and they're like, oh, that guy could be called Rohan Sharma. And then they hear me and they're like, oh, that guy could deport Rohan Sharma. It's not great. But I do sort of, you know, I feel like one of those like white brown guys, you know, I'm very white for a brown guy, you know, I put the chap in chapati, I put the, I put the Indian in Indian tonic water, I put the daddy's money in my account, it's pretty good. But I don't think I face that much racism, like the only time anyone's ever called me radical, I was just skateboarding really well, but I do sort of feel this kind of spiritual connection with my brownness. I can't really fully explain it. I can't really put it into words. You know, like when I was younger, my granddad always used to say to me, Rohan, मैं तुमसे बहुत प्यार करता हूँ, और लगान के जगान का लड़का हूँ. And that's Hindi. And I'd love to know what that means someday. I would. It's a beautiful, beautiful language. But you know, weird things do happen to me because of my race. Like I was reading about colonialism recently, and I was reading that apparently when the British left, right, one of the things people often used to like argue in favor of colonialism is that when they left, they built loads of railways. So like they did all this like violence and all these awful things, but it's meant to be okay because they built a train. And when I heard this, I was like, fucking hell, they should colonize England. What the hell? I live in South London. We've got all the violence, none of the infrastructure. Come on, get a move on. Oh, yes. Yeah. All right. I also have other weird scenarios happen to me. For example, I was in a cab recently, and about halfway through the journey, the guy turned around and he was like, so hey man, where are you from? And I was like, you just picked me up from my house. But I thought maybe he wants to know where my family are from, which I don't really mind. So I was like, if you want to know where my family are from, they're from India. And he was like, whoa, 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 whoa. I would never ask that. And I was like, you can ask that if you want. And he was like, listen, I don't see colour. And I was like, wow, you should not be driving this cab. What are you doing? We've been at this green light 5 minutes. Get a move on. I was so weird. I think I'm also like not good at dating. That's another problem. Like I think there's a few reasons I'm not. Like I'm quite a short guy. I'm quite like you know, like I'm 5'6", but I don't think that's that short. You know. You guys disagree, I will, but I know it's really not, you know, like I don't know if you guys know this, but it's actually average height for a woman from the Philippines, so I don't know, man. Maybe leave your judgment at the door. But I think, as well as I'm quite like an argumentative guy, like I always say the wrong thing at the wrong time. For example, my cousin recently had a kid, and just before, we were discussing names for the kid, and I suggested the name Crystal, which I thought was a nice name, and she went, Crystal? That's a stripper name? But like your name doesn't determine what you do, right? Like my ex-girlfriend was called Joy, but she wasn't happy with me. Your name does not determine what you do, right? Like I knew a guy who shit himself at a screening of the new 007 movie, which is funny because his name was Rohan Sharma. But I think as well, like I have insecurities due to my race, and one of those is to do with the fact that like a lot of people have racial preferences, right? But not many people seem to have them for Indian guys, you know? Like I've only ever met one girl who did, so I asked her why that was, and she went, well, I think it's because when I was younger, I used to eat a lot of Indian food, and now I'm attracted to Indians. Like, that is definitely not how that works, right? Like, when I was younger, I used to eat a lot of baby food, but I'm not a... What a pleasure to be here. What a joy. What a delight. I also live in London now, which I think is part of like the problem. I think it's hard to sort of date in London. I don't know. Like I do like London though. I think people give it like a lot of stick, but I think it's good. It's got lots of good things. Like it's got Madame Tussauds. Anyone like Madame Tussauds? I fucking love Madame Tussauds. Finally, an answer to the question, what would Hitler look like if he was a candle? It's sick. Give me more of that. Fucking hell. It's not bad, but I'm also like quite an awkward guy. Like I always like I'm really like anxious, and I always say like the wrong thing. Like I said, like I was with my grandma recently. We were in like a coffee shop. I was having is it latte or latte? Doesn't matter. I was having a breakdown, and my grandma could clearly see that I was struggling, so she put her hand on my hand and she went, "Everything's gonna be okay, Beta. I love you. And I went, I love you too. And then some part of my brain just broke, and without thinking, I just went, as a friend.